I'm making a Kahlua cake today that's become one of our family's favorites, and I actually use Kahlua and amaretto. So let me show you what the ingredients are. There's two parts to making the cake. The first is the actual cake, and the second is a syrup that goes on top right when it comes out of the oven. So in one big bowl, I'm going to put a set of the following things. I'm going to put a stick of butter and I'm going to melt it just to make my life easier. I got 4 eggs. I've done it with fewer eggs when I haven't had as much. Um, a box of Jello. You can use whatever flavor you want. I'm going to use chocolate because we like that, and a and a standard cake mix. 4 eggs. A cup of. I've got yogurt out here, but you could use sour cream or another kind of liquid if you want it to have an orange flavor. You could use orange juice. I think it's flexible that way. And then of course the amaretto and Kahlua. The I've got some chocolate chips. I might add more chocolate chips in this, but I've got this many. So that will go in the cake. I'll basically throw these all in together and I'll show you. And then the second part is for a syrup that goes on top. Let me show you those. So the syrup that goes on the top right when it comes out of the oven includes some sugar, about a cup. I might add a little bit more than this, a whole stick of butter, I've got some hot cocoa here, but any kind of cocoa powder would work. And then I've got, again, it's going to be more Kahlua and amaretto, whatever mixture you want. You'll notice I've got a cheaper version than the real brand. Otherwise, this gets to be a really expensive cake. So let's mix together the cake recipe. So here I've melted the butter. I don't want to add the eggs first because I don't want to cook the eggs in the melted butter. I'm going to add the cake mix. Jello pudding mix. Jello pudding mix. Again, any flavor. I've got it with banana and that's all I got. And it gives this banana flavor. Some people liked it, some people didn't. Vanilla turned out pretty good. I want to add about a cup of yogurt. Again, it could be sour cream or something else. Let's see, I've got that. That. And there fell my box on the floor. It's, I don't know, about a cup. What do you think? Does it look like about a cup? And then I'm going to pour in here, in this glass, just a combination of Kahlua and amaretto. And I used to, when I first started making this, it was all Kahlua, and then I started adding amaretto, and we really liked the flavor there. So I'm going to need a total of 2 cups of both for the recipe. My lid doesn't want to come off of this. So when the kids were little, they didn't really like this because it had too much alcohol in it. And then 4 eggs. So I'm stirring up. I've got all the ingredients. You can see there's Nick. All the ingredients in here. I want to be sure I've got the eggs basically scrambled in there. And I'll stir this up. And after everything is well mixed, I'll add the chocolate chips. So just throw it all in the same bowl, stir it up, and then I'm going to add the chocolate chips. You can add nuts if you want to, but my family doesn't like nuts in this, so there's going to be no nuts in this version. So the pudding starts giving it a really different kind of texture, but real smooth texture. I've got the oven warming up in the background, 350 degrees. I also butter and floured. I took a paper towel and rubbed butter in the inside and then shook flour along on the inside so it doesn't stick to the bundt pan. And these are the chocolate chips. I'm going to put them in now. I'm thinking, I don't know, I might add a couple more because we really like chocolate chips. When I add extra chocolate chips, everybody seems to like it. So chocolate chips it is. And it's thick enough so the chocolate chips won't all sink to the bottom, which is a really nice thing. And some recipes, when I add chocolate chips, they all sink to the bottom. But I like this because it'll be throughout the entire cake. And if you have it warm, it'll be melted. So then you want to just turn it out into, I can hold on to this, okay, turn it out into the bundt pan. And I like using the bundt pan. I think bundt pans are important because the heat is more evenly distributed because of the hole on the inside. But you can see already it's a real pudding texture. And I'm going to clean out the bowl really well. We don't want to waste any of this unless you got somebody like who likes to lick the bowl around, and then maybe you share the bowl with them. So I'm going to move this into the oven while Paul licks the bowl. How's it going for? Uh, okay, I'm going to stick this in the oven. It'll go for about 50 minutes. And about 30 minutes, so when there's 20 minutes left, I want to start on the syrup. So we'll let it in there, sit in there for a bit, and then we'll come back and work on the syrup together. This is the part that makes this really a rich and moist cake, almost like a pudding cake, and that's the syrup on the top. So we're going to make this in time to have it still be hot when the cake comes out of the oven because we'll pour it over the top of the cake. So what I'm doing is I'm melting some butter in the pan, and let me show you what I've got going down here. It's down here, and you can see I'm melting some butter in the pan, and once this is melted, I'll add the sugar. I don't know, it's about a cup. This is, 1 stick of butter, about a cup. I'm gonna and then I'll add some of the cocoa powder, and then do a mixture of Kahlua and amaretto, or coffee liqueur and almond liqueur. So I bet you could use other kinds of liqueur for this. In fact, I think this recipe comes from at least 3 different sources. I um, got an original recipe for a rich cake from John Patton at Fountain Valley School, where he added the 4 eggs and kind of supplemented a cake mix to get something rich. And Food 52 online, I watched their videos like crazy. They do good stuff. They gave me the idea of putting a syrup on the top after it comes out. So, and I think there's another couple recipes I was using when I was fiddling with this recipe, and this is one we've landed on. I've also done this lemon. Gramps liked the lemon version, and I just used the lemon yogurt. I use limoncello. You can get a less expensive variety. It still makes an expensive cake. Um, Limoncello, lemon juice, lemon lemon yogurt, but you can do a good job making a lemon cake that's pretty darn flavorful and beautifully yellow as well. Put strawberries on top of either one of these cakes, and it's really tasty. And I'm noticing my butter is beginning to melt. So I'm going to just keep an eye on it. I don't want it to simmer away, and I don't want it to turn brown. So I'm going to pause this until I'll come back when the butter's all melted. Okay, got my melted butter. Pour in the sugar. I'm gonna stir this. Find the sugar melts. I'm gonna add, I don't know. It's usually, I add a little bit and then I add more, and people like that. So add some chocolate. I'm gonna let this combine and simmer a little bit. So I want it to simmer before I add the alcohol. So I made the mistake of letting this cool a little bit instead of having it simmering, because it ought to be nice and liquidy. So I'll put in some. This is what's left of this bottle of amaretto, and it's a good amount of that top's already off. Coffee liqueur, and then the rest amaretto. It's not real amaretto. It's what is it? It's a fake version. It's J Brandt. J Brandt. I like them. They work well for cooking. Okay, and this might bubble on you a little bit, and that's okay. I just slowly let it go thick. And you can either then add this to the top of the whole cake. As you'll see, that's what we'll do. Some people like keeping some out to pour on the top of the cake after you've served it and put it on the plate. It'll be a nice thick syrup. I want to bubble it down a little bit. So we'll let it simmer. It's got to heat up now. Let it simmer and until the cake's ready to come out. I'll get a nice thick syrup. So here it is. I've taken it out of the oven. It looks really beautiful. It's bouncy in the top. It is beginning to leave the sides there, so you can see it's done. And I've got this is hot. This syrup we've made is hot. It's a little darker colored than when we first started. If you want less alcohol, simmer it more with the alcohol in it. If you want less, simmer it more, or you can do a substitution with just coffee. You don't have to even put any alcohol in this. So I'm going to just take a little bit of this, and you've got to pour it in a little bit at a time. It will all soak in. It just takes a little bit. So pour some on. You might see it simmer a little bit, simmering as it hits the pan. But you'll want to take this entire quantity that you've made up here and slide it into the cake. And you've got to do so slowly, otherwise it'll um, pour over the edge. But it'll all be absorbed. It's not clearly what makes it so very moist. Notice there's a total of 2 sticks of butter in it and 2 cups of the amaretto coffee liqueur and coffee liqueur mixture. It's just a really, really moist cake. So I'm going to take my time pouring this on and letting it still simmering. And then once it's all in there, I'm going to let it cool slowly. And this cake is really good when you make it a day in advance. And just cover it. You can leave it out. I leave it out on the counter. But do cover it. You can flip it upside down onto a plate and afterwards, and then embellish it with strawberries. It's really good with whipped cream or vanilla ice cream because it's so rich. You need something to kind of break down break down the heavy duty chocolate. Okay, it's slowly seeping in, but you can see I don't have much left in here, and it's still sucking it up. I'm still able to pour some around here, around a variety of places, and it will be absorbed completely. And then I'm going to want it to sit for a long time. I usually make it the day before and then let it sit overnight, and then in the morning I can set a plate on top of it, flip it upside down. If it doesn't want to come out, maybe the butter is cold and has stuck to the outside, you can dip the whole pan into hot water and then flip it upside down. Maybe I ought to show you how I do that. So I'll finish this video in the morning when I do that. Right now, I'm just finishing pouring all the syrup on top and it'll be absorbed. It's still hot. This is still a very hot pan and this is very hot. So it's going in slowly. The butter's melted. So I think I think I'll finish pouring this and then I'll see you in the morning. Okay, it's cooled. Here's our plate. And I'm going to start by taking a skinny spatula and sliding it around the perimeter of the cake. And hopefully this is enough. It's a real skinny spatula. You don't want to use a thick one. But hopefully this is enough. If not, I'll dip the cake pan in warm water and melt the butter a little bit. But doing this obviously loosens it from the side. Sometimes buttering and flouring the pan is not quite sufficient. And this, I'm afraid of breaking it. So let's try it. See how this goes. If it doesn't, we'll have to do the warm water trick. So I don't feel it falling. No, it's not falling. So I'm going to go dump it in warm water. So let me show you how I do that. So actually this did come out. This did come out of there. But what I would do is take this upside down and fill this with warm water, dip this in there until it melts the butter on the side. Now you'll see not quite all of it. There's some good cake that got left there. So I'm going to just pick this up and kind of place it on top of the cake. It's so moist. I'll reconstruct it a little bit. So we'll see how it gets put together. Sometimes this doesn't look the greatest. You can cover it with whipped cream if you'd like, but oh my gosh, this is the most amazingly moist. I mean, obviously you could see the texture, and I can smell the Kahlua actually. But sometimes if my dad's home, he doesn't want me to do this. He just wants to eat these pieces of cake. So anyway, this is how you make our family's Kahlua cake. Again, I got this from a combination of recipes from John Patton was one, and Food 52 was another, but just generally watching lots of ways to supplement and make a powerful cake. But notice you can change stuff up. You don't have to measure a lot of these goods. So enjoy this cake.